And it goes a little something like.
My Zenith project is basically the collection of all the work I've done this year in animation using my original character. This project showcases my character development process from 2D concepts to a 3D model and then later animating this 3D model. I began this process by developing my character Nienna in Procreate on my iPad. I drew a concept page of different poses, experimenting with her outfit and color palette. In the time lapse, you'll see I use pose references I got from Pinterest. This is something I do a lot when I'm just too lazy to measure out the proportions myself. In order to understand Nienna in a more three-dimensional way, I decided to create a piece that was more realistic. I wanted to experiment with blue lighting since I found this really awesome portrait someone took, and I thought I could create my own spin on it. Before developing her in a three-dimensional way, I decided to explore ideas of what kind of environment she might exist in. In my original concepts, I imagined her as someone who travels quite a bit in various exotic places. I eventually decided to draw a stairway to an overgrown shrine. The red gates are Torii gates. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but I'm told that they symbolize the transition from the mundane to the sacred. You can see I took inspiration from some Japanese art and culture, which is something I tend to do a lot, actually. When beginning my 3D model, I began with modeling her head using the ZBrush and then eventually modeling the rest of her body. For both the head and body, I used pre-made head and body bases and then built on top of that and sculpted from there. You can see I was struggling a bit with modeling her body. Her hands in this photo are still blobs and her legs and arms are unproportional, making her look a bit funky. I think the poly count was off, so Mr. Cho helped me with that and I was able to add more detail. The poly count is the number of polygons that make up the 3D model. The more polygons, the more detailed, and vice versa. I don't remember what range I had to stay in, but there was a specific range in order to export her out as an OBJ file and import her into Substance Painter and Maya. Speaking of Substance Painter, that brings me to my next topic. I imported Nienna into Substance Painter, which is a program where you can paint 3D models with different substances. That was probably a terrible explanation. Basically, if you have a 3D model, you can paint it with something like bronze or wood or skin, and obviously alter the color and texture to your specifications. This has saved massive amounts of time in the industry because artists don't have to paint details like, say, wood grain. The properties of the substance are already there. As you can see, this is the final product after she's been colored in Substance Painter. I added a character bio with a little background of who she is. I hope you can read it. I don't know if you can, but feel free to pause and read her bio if you wish. To import Nienna into Maya and have her look similar to what she looked like in ZBrush, I needed one low poly and one high poly OBJ file, as well as her flattened color and texture images. This way, when I import her into Maya, I can take the low poly OBJ and wrap the high poly OBJ with the texture and color around her. For lack of a better metaphor, it's kind of like when you have an Easter bunny with detailed tinfoil wrapped around it. The low poly OBJ is the chocolate bunny with less detail, and the tinfoil is the high poly OBJ with color and texture. From there, in Maya, I was able to rig my model. To rig a model is to pretty much make them into a puppet where you can control their joints. Rather than just doing keyframing animation, which takes forever, I can use something called mocap data. Mocap data stands for motion capture data. It's what's used in movies and video games. Someone puts on a suit which has sensors at key areas on someone's body, and those sensors send signals to the computer which tracks your movement. This movement is recorded, and you can attach that movement to your own 3D model. Sites like Mixamo offer a library of free movements that you can choose from, and from there on it's pretty much just finding the right movements and stitching them together. I hope you enjoyed my Zenith project.